So yesterday I made a video expressing my disgust at the state of the UFC ranking system recently, and I also called out the people that made that ranking system, claiming that they have no idea what they are doing and they should give the job to someone else. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing in this video. The video that I made discussing the rankings entirely kind of revolved around the Featherweight division, so that's the one we're going to start with today. I'm going to be going through the Featherweight division, giving you guys the real rankings that should be the current rankings right now, and I'm hoping that those MMA media members that claim to know what they're doing are going to have a little look at this video that I post right now and change those rankings immediately after I post it. And if I don't see those rankings changed next Tuesday, there's going to be some big problems, because these are the official rankings that we all want, and I'm going to go through the entire list of them, describing where I think everyone should be ranked in a division, rather than the absolute disgrace of a featherweight rankings that they have put together. However, spoiler alert, Zabit Magomedsharipov is not at number 2. And also Alexander Volkanovski is champion. Now that we've got the spoilers out of the way, let's focus on 1 through 15. I'm going to go down the entire rankings of the featherweight division, putting everyone in their correct places. Starting at number 1, Max Holloway, of course. The champion, he lost his belt, he's the number 1 contender. That's pretty straightforward. 2 through 5 is also a bit of a problem, but we're going to get through them. Give me a second here. I believe that the Korean Zombie is the number 2 ranked fighter in the featherweight division. I think his wins over Frankie Edgar and Renato Moicano, not to mention that he KO'd both of those people in the first round, but his wins over Edgar and Moicano are big wins, considering the current reasoning for Zabit being at number 2 is the fact that he beat Jeremy Stephens and Calvin Kattar. Renato Moicano beat Calvin Kattar. Frankie Edgar beat Jeremy Stephens. Renato Moicano also beat Jeremy Stephens. I value the Korean Zombie's wins way more, and not to mention the fact that I'm looking at the quality of these wins as well when I'm making these rankings, and I didn't leave either of the fights with Frankie Edgar and Renato Moicano versus the Korean Zombie thinking that if there was a 4th round, the Korean Zombie would have lost, like I do when I watch every single Zabit fight. However, the Korean Zombie is number 2 in my ranking system, so immediately the UFC is off to a sour start. They have Zabit Magomedsharipov at number 2. That makes 0 sense. I believe that the Korean Zombie is the number 2 contender in the division, not to mention, if you wanted a little bit of extra seasoning on the side for why he's number 2, he holds a win over Dustin Poirier. I know it was a long time ago and Dustin Poirier is no longer in that division, but still, that's a win that the other guys in this division don't have, and the Korean Zombie does. That's a good name to have, regardless of how irrelevant it might be, added to the other reasons as to why the Korean Zombie is at number 2. That win just puts the little seasoning on top. He holds a win over Dustin Poirier. Let's put the Korean Zombie at number 2, not to mention he completely dismantled both of his opponents that he last fought and was beating Yair Rodriguez the entire fight before the very end. I'm taking that into consideration, otherwise I'd have Yair Rodriguez at number 2. Moving down to number 3. Brian Ortega. I think Brian Ortega is the number 3 ranked guy in the division. I think he beat, well, I know he beat, I don't think this, I know he beat Renato Moicano and Frankie Edgar. Both the guys that the Korean Zombie beat. He beat those guys before the Korean Zombie did, meaning that they are more impressive wins. However, he then went on to lose to Max Holloway. He has then been inactive for a very long time, including pulling out of a fight with the Korean Zombie, where Korean Zombie then took on Frankie Edgar and beat him. Okay? That means I'm putting the Korean Zombie above Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega, for me, sits at number 3. He has good wins in the division, don't get me wrong. He could be number 2, and he has the same wins as the Korean Zombie, but I think the manner in which the Korean Zombie has done things and the frequency and the recency bias that I have, I moved the Korean Zombie above Brian Ortega, because Brian Ortega has been a little bit too inactive, and as we've seen in the rankings before, inactive fighters tend to move down slowly. The Korean Zombie is number 2, Brian Ortega is number 3. Number 4, for me, is Zabit Magomedsharipov. Actually, no, it's not. It's Yair Rodriguez. We still haven't got to Zabit Magomedsharipov. Number 4 for me is Yair Rodriguez. He holds a win over the Korean Zombie. Now, fair enough, he was losing that fight until the very end, so I'm taking that with a pinch of salt, but he does hold a win over the Korean Zombie, which means we can't move him so far down the rankings, but also, we can't move him above the Korean Zombie, because the Korean Zombie then went on to beat Frankie Edgar, which Yair Rodriguez lost to. So that's a big deal as well, and Yair Rodriguez also got to Jeremy Stephens after everyone else. I know that's something to take into consideration here. I'm just not willing to put Yair Rodriguez above the Korean Zombie or Brian Ortega in the rankings, but I do respect his win over the Korean Zombie. And listen, if the Korean Zombie goes on to lose his next fight, Yair Rodriguez is going to move above him. But recently, what has Yair Rodriguez done? Won a close fight against Jeremy Stephens that he clearly won, don't get me wrong, but he has no way destroyed Renato Moicano in the first round and destroyed Frankie Edgar in the first round. I think that the Korean Zombie destroying Frankie Edgar in that first round has eradicated a little bit of the sour taste in my mouth about him losing to Yair Rodriguez. Korean Zombie at 2. We're going to get through this fucking video, I swear. The Korean Zombie at 2, Brian Ortega at 3, Yair Rodriguez at 4, Zabit Magomedsharipov at 5. Zabit Magomedsharipov does not hold a win over any of the Korean Zombie, Brian Ortega or Max Holloway. Yair Rodriguez holds a win over the Korean Zombie. Yair Rodriguez also beat Jeremy Stephens, dare I say, in a similar fashion to Zabit Magomedsharipov. I know he beat him after Zabit did, but Zabit went to a close fight with Jeremy Stephens. I thought it was 2-1 Zabit very clearly, but one of those rounds was very close. The same with Yair Rodriguez. He won 2 rounds to 1 as well, in my opinion. So I think putting him around a similar area makes sense. But I'm putting Yair Rodriguez above Zabit Magomedsharipov purely because Zabit has beat Calvin Kattar, which is a great win, but we know how that one looks compared to the guys who have beaten Renato Moicano in that same division. Regardless if you think that Kattar would beat Moicano now, we just know what happened already. We are not looking in the future to say, oh, what would happen? Because if we're basing a division off odds, then every single time a champion changes, the entire division is going to completely shift around based on great style matchups for that new champion. You cannot base a division on what would happen. You have to look at the body of work they have all put in. I have Zabit Magomedsharipov at number 5. He almost lost to Calvin Kattar. I'm also looking at the quality of wins here, guys. Yair Rodriguez at number 4, because he got the win over the Korean Zombie. Zabit Magomedsharipov at number 5. That seems to be the top 5, nice and done up well. At number 6, of course, we have Calvin Kattar. Great wins in the division, only lost to Zabit Magomedsharipov recently in terms of anyone in the rankings right now. So I'm sliding him just underneath Zabit Magomedsharipov. So actually, I agree with the UFC on that rankings, or I agree with these random MMA media members on that ranking position. I have Calvin Kattar at number 6. I also have done a removal of Frankie Edgar out of the rankings because he's moving down to bantamweight and says he's never coming back. So I've moved him out of the rankings. I'm not going to do what these random MMA media members do, which is drag him through the division and make and shame him by dragging him down the rankings like they have done with Jose Aldo, who currently sits at number 11. I'm not going to do that with either of those guys. Aldo is removed from my rankings in the Featherweight division because he's already fought at bantamweight and now he's fighting at bantamweight as well. Again, and he's looking at talking about retirement as well. If he does win that bantamweight belt, I'd be surprised if he doesn't retire. However, Aldo's no longer on my ranking list. Neither is Frankie Edgar. They're no longer in the division. Let's fucking get rid of them. That's how it works. Moving on down. Josh Emmett, I have sitting at number 7. I think he's above Jeremy Stephens. I think his body of work recently with wins against Shane Burgos in an amazing performance, and also a big win against Michael Johnson as well, and also a big win against Masad Bektik as well that I keep forgetting about. The jab from the gods from Josh Emmett, I think, has slid him above Jeremy Stephens, not so much in his own performances, but mainly because Jeremy Stephens has lost so much that we have to move him down the rankings. We can't punish Josh Emmett for the losses of Jeremy Stephens because that's just a style thing. I feel like guys who have lost to someone should still be able to be above them in the rankings depending on who else they've beaten. It's not how you match up with a single person in the division. It's not how you match up with the champion. It's how you match up with everyone overall in the division as a whole. I've put Josh Emmett above Jeremy Stephens, and me and the MMA media members agree on this. I have Josh Emmett at number 7, Jeremy Stephens at number 8, and Dan Ige sits at number 9 in my rankings. You know who sits at number 10? Edson Barboza. Jose Aldo went to a close fight with Marlon Moraes at bantamweight. He got ranked for losing. It was controversial because a lot of people at the time thought Jose Aldo won, even though when you rewatch the fight and look at the stats, Moraes clearly won rounds 1 and 3. But still, a lot of people thought Aldo won. A lot of people thought Edson Barboza won, including myself. I thought Barboza won rounds 1 and 2 against Dan Ige. They've still placed Aldo in the rankings. You can't have one rule for one person and another rule for everyone else. I've put Dan Ige at number 9, and I've put Edson Barboza making his divisional rankings debut at number 10 because I consider him beating Dan Ige, or at least being equal skill level to Dan Ige. If you don't want to call it a win for Edson Barboza, let's at least call it what it was. A razor close fight on Dan Ige's behalf that he won. Even though he shouldn't have won, Dan Ige won, so we're going to put him above Edson Barboza, but we know that Edson Barboza is at least Dan Ige's skill level in that featherweight division, if not more. So I've put Edson Barboza at number 10. At number 11, I don't have Jose Aldo, because that would make zero sense. I have no idea why he's there in the rankings, because he has wins over Jeremy Stephens at number 9, Frankie Edgar at number 7. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The Korean Zombie at number 4, according to the UFC official rankings. I don't have Jose Aldo in my rankings. It makes no sense to do it. I don't know why they drag his name through the dirt and drag him out of those rankings slowly. He's at bantamweight. He's about to fight twice at bantamweight. Now for the world title. Get him out your featherweight rankings. He's gone. My number 11 is Arnold Allen. I know he has not got any huge wins in the division, but 7-0 is 7-0, and compared to the guys that I have below him, it's looking real good. 7-0 is a really good score in the featherweight division. He's not lost. He's beaten guys like Makwan Amirkhani, which is a decent win. Nick Lentz, according to RankingMMA.com, is ranked number 22 at featherweight. So that's somewhat of a decent win for Arnold Allen to have. I think Arnold Allen deserves to be at number 11. He's put in the work. He's 7-0. There's something where you kind of have to respect an undefeated fighter that's put together a large streak. You can see him doing it with Charles Oliveira. Maybe a little bit too much, but they're moving him up the division manually and automatically just because he keeps beating everyone and everyone above him keeps losing. So Arnold Allen has naturally risen to the number 11 spot in my rankings. Number 12 is Shane Burgos. The UFC has Shane Burgos at number 14. I have no idea why they have Shane Burgos at number 14. That makes zero sense to me. I have no idea why Ryan Hall is above Shane Burgos in the rankings. Ryan Hall has beaten Darren Elkins and that's it. Regular pub goers in Hawaii beat BJ Penn. It's not an accomplishment anymore. Ryan Hall is not above Shane Burgos in my list. Shane Burgos sits at number 12. Sadiq Youssef sits at number 13. I think his win over Andre Fili is a great win to have. Other than that, he hasn't really beaten anyone in the division. But a win over Andre Fili, if Andre Fili were to beat Sadiq Youssef, I would place Andre Fili in the rankings. So I have to kind of do the same with Sadiq Youssef. I think he's had more impressive wins than guys like Ryan Hall. I think Andre Fili is a more impressive win than Darren Elkins, not to mention that when Sadiq Youssef beat Andre Fili turned around and beat Charles Jourdain, who beat Doo Ho Choi, which is a big name and a highly ranked guy. Charles Jourdain was highly ranked off of beating Doo Ho Choi. Don't know if you guys noticed that. He was top 25. That's a big win for Andre Fili. What did Darren Elkins do since he lost to Ryan Hall? Went on and lost to Nate Landwehr. That win loses a little bit of value for me, which is why I have Sadiq Youssef at number 13. Number 14 in the division. And here's one that might be a little bit controversial, Cub Swanson. I think he's a great fighter. He went to a split decision with Shane Burgos in a very close fight. I thought Shane Burgos won it 2-1, but it was a split decision. I could see how a judge might give a close round to Cub Swanson. I can understand that. It was a razor close fight. And other than that, I mean, Cub Swanson was number 5 in the world when he lost to Renato Moicano. How did he get dragged so fast out of the rankings? I understand that he did lose to Shane Burgos, but still, he has wins over Jeremy Stephens, who sits at number 8 according to my rankings. How are we dragging Cub Swanson through the dirt like this? It makes no sense. I think Cub Swanson should still be ranked because of the body of work that he's put in his previous years. I know his last few years haven't been too successful, but what have the other guys done? You think Ryan Hall has a more accomplished featherweight career than Cub Swanson? I don't think so. I have Cub Swanson sitting at number 14, and I have Ryan Hall sitting at 15. So if you want the full rankings, number 1, Max Holloway. Number 2, the Korean Zombie. Number 3, Brian Ortega. Number 4, Yair Rodriguez. Number 5, Zabit Magomedsharipov. 6, Qatar. 7, Emmett. 8, Stevens, 9, Ige, 10, Barboza, Allen at 11, Burgos at 12, Youssef at 13, 14 is Swanson, and 15 is Ryan Hall. Those are my divisional rankings, and that's the way the divisional rankings are supposed to be. Let me know if you agree with me. I have a feeling that some of you guys are going to disagree with my placement of Zabit, Ortega, Rodriguez, Zombie. Let me know what you would do instead, because I think I've got it figured out. to be honest with you. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there, and I'll see you guys later. Those are my divisional rankings. They'll be in the comment section below. Go and check them out.